Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Any recross?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant, very much for participating today. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey.
you. All right, I have two people in my lobby, one of whom is Mr. Gladney.
That's who we want next.
Oh, he's in there twice. Okay, so
Your Honor, before we move on, is it possible to verify whether Respondents Exhibit 4 is in WebEx? Due to the size of the document, I don't think I'm going to be able to email it past my firewall. So I'll have to set up a
You're saying
link.
WebEx, do you mean WeBox?
WeBox, that's what I mean, yes.
sure. I know I have it. It came through, I have it in 2 sections, but I have it. And I have to admit that I don't know how WeBox works. So if you guys are able to figure that out, that's wonderful.
I guess
Yeah, let's, we can even do this tonight. I don't think this is gonna, but I don't think the worst that could happen on this issue is anything that should delay us right now.
Okay.
But I'll do I mean, I may just be working from your original exhibits that you sent me and not the ones that are in WeBox. I don't know, but what it says 1 through 4, I only have 1 through 3, so I'm trying to get that resolved.
Okay.
But I appreciate your firewall limit. So let's just, if we can just get Mr. Gladney on, then we'll
Sure.
cross that bridge.
I'll make a note to deal with that later.
Okay.
All right. All right, I have Fredrick Gladney in twice. Mr. Gladney, can you hear me? Let's see, he's on mute. Okay, Mr. Gladney, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You're in twice. I don't know if we're going to get feedback or not, but we can go ahead and start.
Let me try to get off the other one.
Okay. Oh. Mm.
I'm having camera issues with the other one, so I'll be out of that one.
All right, that looks like it worked. All right, and we just need to unmute you.
There we go.
Okay. All right, very good. I need to swear you in, Mr. Gladney, so if you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Attorney Cross.
Great, thank you very much. So, Mr. Gladney, did you ever supervise Mr. James Lucky at any time?
Yes. No.
Okay, about when was that?
Actually, he was never my direct supervisor. He was never under me directly, no.
Okay, well, can you explain the difference between the yes and the no answer?
Basically, he was on first shift. I was on second shift.
Okay.
So he wasn't directly under me unless he worked overtime or something like that.
Okay. But so, I mean, given scheduling and other things like that, there's bound to be occasions where Mr. Lucky would have been scheduled to work under a shift that you supervised. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Okay. I got it. So even though, and just so the judge understands, even though he's not technically on your shift, it's a certain guarantee that he will be under you in a given period of time.
It could be possible, yes.
Okay. All right. So you also have another role in the union, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that same time, you were union president. Is that true?
That's correct. That is correct.
And when did you start being the union president?
I believe the end of 2017, I believe.
Oh, okay. So pretty, I mean, certainly for much of the time that Mr. Lucky is employed by the county, if not the entire time. Is that fair?
For the sheriff's office, yes.
Yeah. Oh, right. Thank you. And then, so when did you first come into contact with Mr. Lucky at the sheriff's department?
Came in contact with Mr. Lucky approximately in the academy, but really didn't have any. When I basically give our introduction of the union, introduce myself, and then when I teach classes, I was an adjunct instructor as well.
Okay. So you were teaching classes like Mr. Smoot.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So, and was Lucky attending any of your classes?
Yes.
Okay. So then after the academy, did you have any relationship with him while he was working there prior to this, the last time?
Just a working relationship, no other type of relationship outside of work, no.
And that's fair. That's really all I'm trying to get at is this time period that we're talking about prior to in 2019. Was there any period, because I understand he was in the courts, I think, at that time. Was there any period prior to that, was that on the road or any highways or anything like that where you were a supervisor?
I was a supervisor on patrol division. He could have been out there. He could have been at, I don't know where he was at in 19.
I got it. Okay. And so at some point you represented Mr. Lucky with regard to disciplinary matters in your capacity as the union president, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you also assist Mr. Lucky in filing complaints filing complaints while you were union president?
I helped him with, he wrote the complaints. I went over them after he wrote them. I never helped him with any of those, no.
Okay. About how many of those did he file? Do you know?
No, not offhand, no.
Okay. But more than one?
Yes.
Like more than 5?
Counsel, I really don't know. He filed a lot of stuff, so he didn't go through me. He wrote complaints. He sent emails, different things like that. So I said it was a lot.
I got it. Okay. So sometimes it's formal, sometimes it's informal, sometimes he checked with you, sometimes he didn't check with you. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I jumped ahead. So let me just jump back. With regard to these disciplines that you were representing him, or I guess, is it fair to say that you were representing him with the disciplines as part of your union role?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did that consist of when you are representing somebody for their discipline?
Basically what I do when they go to discipline, I go to an internal affairs or professional standards interview. I basically go in there before we go into the offices of the internal affairs or professional standards. I speak with the deputy or deputies. In this case, I spoke with Mr. Lucky, asked them, hey, what we're going to go in here. If we don't, do you know what this is about? They may say yes or no. Once that happens, then I said, okay, everything we do, we're going to go short and concise and to the point. If I feel that they're taking you down a rabbit hole, I will call a timeout. And after I call the timeout, we'll get our wits together and go with a strategic plan to go from there. And then if there was something where I think that the deputy was being untruthful, or I ain't gonna say, if he was being untruthful, or if he omitted something or didn't tell me something, then I would stop the interview and we'd go out of the office, speak about it and say, hey, are you aware of this? Why didn't you tell me this? You know, if I can help you, it's just like being an attorney. So
Okay.
The more truthful that they are, the more you can help them out with their case. The more they omit or don't tell you things, it's harder for you to put on an accurate case for them and fight for them.
All right, I appreciate that answer. Just excuse me, Judge. I believe that Mr. Lucky is back in the waiting room. I don't know how that
No,
happened.
he's back on. He's back in.
He's back in. Thank you. Okay. Great. So that's at the internal affairs interview, right?
Correct.
At some point, if the internal affairs, if there's a discipline that's recommended, I understand that deputies have a chance to respond to the proposed discipline before that happens. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you participate in that process?
Yes. And basically at that time, with that particular sheriff, Sheriff Ernell Lucas, he was having in-person, and then he stopped having in-person, and then deputies would have to write a written response or rebuttal to what was said or mentioned within the investigation.
I got it. Okay. And so normally you'd either be appearing with the person or then later on assisting them with the written aspect. Is that fair to say?
Correct. I would have them write it. I would tell them again to be concise. If you feel that if the person felt that they didn't do anything wrong, I would say, hey, tell them you apologize for this, but you didn't do this. That's not your character. Or yes, I did it. Sorry to be in front of you, and go from there.
Okay. And so that sounds like a pretty important role, right? Acting as a representative?
It is a pretty important role. It is.
Okay. And I mean, have you ever been able to, I guess for lack of a better word, get deputies out of discipline?
I ain't gonna say get them out of discipline, but I helped them out pretty much, and they got out of it, or they got disciplined, or I worked, like I say, I used to say, I worked my magic and get it dwindled down to something, or make some type of deal to get it to nothing. Or like you said, I do my best to get them out of it. Yes, I have done quite a few.
Okay. That does sound like an attorney, right?
It pretty much is an attorney. You have to know have to know everything about everything, and do your best.
Okay. And so, like you have to know everything of like Garrity issues. You have to be familiar with those kind of issues.
Some type of those issues, but more or less policies, procedures. If it's a training issue, you should be well versed in training. You got to know the different policies and procedures, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, best practices, and different things like that.
Okay.
So basically, I'm a jack of all trades, but you have to know a little bit of everything.
Now, did any time while you were the union president, did any of your members come to you and say, I'm being discriminated against on the basis of race?
No, I don't believe so, no.
No. Okay. What about Mr. Lucky? Did he say anything about that to you?
He put it in an email, and he sent it off without consulting me or talking to me about it, but it went to emails like that.
Okay. So and I just want to be clear. So the distinction when you're saying nobody came to you, that's like, for example, Mr. Lucky saying, hey, I want to write this complaint. Will you help me write it?
No, he's never came to me and said he wanted me to help him write a complaint at all. No.
I got it. Okay. But you are aware of deputies making race complaints at the sheriff's department, right?
It's very few in between. I mean, now since I'm retired, I've heard a couple of more people making complaints, but other than that, no.
Okay. But right. So, but it happens though, right?
It happens. Yeah. It happens everywhere. Even in your law firm, it happens,
I understand that, but that helps me get to my next set of questions about what your understanding of, I mean, those issues, you have familiarity with those issues. That's fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. So then what if somebody comes to you and says, I want to make a race complaint or something like that, what would you tell them is the proper thing to do?
It depends on how they come to me. 9 times out of 10, the majority of the people that come to me, they're not coming to me as a sergeant. They're coming to me as a union president. So at that point, then I have to advise them, hey, what was said, who said it, when it was said, how do we fix it, right? What would you like to be done? And then once they tell me their avenues of what to be done, I'm like, all right, let me go see what I could do. And I said, start preparing to write your stuff up, write your complaint, and then we go from there. If they're saying, well, I want this person to stop, okay, what does that mean? Do you want them to stop? Do you want them to stop with you? Or is it something that's prevalent that this person is doing to everybody? Because if he's doing it to everybody, then I have to go up higher. If they're just singling you out, let me know what you want to be done. If it's doing if they're just if a person is doing more racial or discriminating against a whole group or class, then I have to step in and say, hey, then I go to the inspector or I go straight to the sheriff and say, hey, this is what we got. This is what we need to do. How can we fix it? We need to fix it fast. If we don't, then we have to do our thing. Okay.
So as union president, how did you develop that policy, for lack of a better word?
It wasn't a policy. It was just, I basically put everything on the deputy or the person who feels that they're getting discriminated, what they want.
Okay.
And then if they tell me they want X, Y, and Z, all right, I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
I got it. Okay. So, and I appreciate your answer before because it reminded me that there's these two roles. There's the role of the supervisor and there's the role of the union president, right?
Correct.
Okay. So right now, I just want to focus on the role as a union president.
Okay.
Well, okay. Appreciate that. So, so if somebody's coming to you, and I guess I'm going to use an example here, saying that the scheduling commander is scheduling me for a certain zone, and they're not with just one person, and they're scheduling zone 2 for 2 white deputies and just 1 black deputy. Okay, is that the kind of example that would just be dealt with on a one-to-one basis?
That could be dealt with one-to-one, but you have to know the dynamic of the sheriff's office first.
Please.
And if you think the dynamic, then it would be, how can I put it? All right. It's a predominantly white organization. We don't have, the sheriff's office doesn't have a 50-50 mix of black and white. It's not
Right.
that. So if you have 12 people on first shift and you have 1 black employee on first shift, you're not being discriminated against because you're in a sector 1 or sector 2 or sector 3. It's just you're the only one. So it's sort of kind of hard to say. I know where you're going with this. So it's very hard to say, because when I was on patrol, I was on second shift. I was the only black deputy out there. So on my shift. So it's hard if they put me in a sector where it's supposed to be 2 people and they put 1 person there, then I got to sit there and say, was there anything else? Is there any mitigating circumstances that they have me in one spot by myself or somewhere else?
Okay. And I just want to be clear there, because part of what I thought I understood was you were saying that because there's so few black people, it's not really possible for scheduling purposes. It's not really possible for there to be discriminatory scheduling because there's so few black people. Did I understand that right?
Yeah, it could happen, but it's not putting somebody in, like you're saying, the example you said, 2 white deputies in one zone and 1 black deputy in another zone by himself.
Okay. Now, what if a deputy is alleging that every time he goes to internal affairs, he gets investigated? Is that the kind of thing that rises to the level of a bigger issue, or is that just a one-on-one issue?
I would probably go one-on-one, because then I want to know who's doing the investigating. Why is this person always getting, discriminated against, or like you're saying, discriminated, or having another case brought against them? And then I would go look into it more.
Okay.
It's just like you're saying, like you said earlier, it's like being an attorney. And every time an attorney does something that doesn't, you guys don't go and try to fix the problem or take it to court all the time. You try to go talk to somebody one-on-one to get a resolve. And that's basically what I'm trying to do, is get a resolve and say, hey, we know something's going on. If you don't stop, knock it off, there's going to be something bigger. You have to go to the next step, progression, so to speak.
Okay. What's the next step, for example?
Let's just say I go to internal affairs or professional standards bureau, right? I talk to the individual and say, hey, this is what they're saying. Is this true? No. All right. Then the next go around, if it happens again, then I would say, hey, captain. Then I'm gonna go to the captain of that bureau and say, hey, we think something is going on. Every time this person does this, we get a case. What's going on with this? And then at that point, then I go, it depends if I go to the inspector or the chief deputy or the sheriff. It depends. It depends.
I got it. So, right. I mean, there's a progression is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. And then is that activity taking place just by the union? Right? Is that just you doing that with the union? Let me put that another way. Is the employee participating in that progression?
No, it's usually you. It's usually me, myself, and the other individual.
Okay. And that's based on your knowledge and expertise, right?
Correct.
Okay. And history, I mean, you at this point had a substantial career with the sheriff's department, right?
27 plus with the county time. I have 29 and a half years.
Okay.
So yeah, I have a familiarity with a lot of people and a lot of relationships with a lot of people. So you try to get stuff done very easily.
All right. Well, now Captain Smoot, you know him, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he told me. By the way, what's his race?
I believe he's a white male.
Okay. And so he told me that he went to the academy with you. Is that right?
Yeah, we were in the same class 56.
Okay. That's not a year number, is it?
No, that's a class number.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, bitch. I ain't that old, counsel.
All right. And you know Mr. Novotny, right?
Yes, I know him as well.
Okay. And who's he?
He is the commander of the Professional Standards Bureau, or the
Okay.
Professional Standards Division, or something like that.
I got it. Professional Standards, Internal Affairs.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. The Guardians of the Guardians. Okay.
Yes.
So let's say, did you ever write him an email about bullying at any time?
Did I write him an email about bullying? I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Did you ever send him an email about any issues, any race issues at the county?
To him, I don't believe so.
Okay. I am going to share with you our Exhibit 55 in the hopes that refreshes your recollection. Do you see an email here dated June 21st of 2020?
Yes.
Okay. Does this help refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I did this on my cell phone. And this looked like this is a forwarded email.
I believe that. So, but you're Fredrick Gladney, right?
That is my name.
Great. And you sent this email to James Novotny, right?
Yep, I forwarded an email to James Novotny, correct, and added that little statement there. Yes.
And this is your statement. The minority deputies are having major concerns and having a hard time with this and with what's going on. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. What did that mean?
It means what it means. They're having a hard time with what's going on.
What's going on?
Counsel, I really can't see this screen that well, so all I'm going to by is what this says. I can't tell you directly. It was back in, what was this, 2020? Oh, I know exactly what this is about now. Okay.
All right. What helped refresh your recollection?
Okay. The date, 2020.
All right.
This is during the protests. And this was during the protests. So a lot of, how can I put it? A lot of things that was going on, it wasn't pertaining to just Lucky at the time. It was a lot of things that was going on, things that was going on that I didn't like, and some things that I've seen that wasn't professional, and it made me say, hey, once this email came out, it was a perfect time for me to put it out. So at that point, I sent that email off to him, and then I set up a meeting with higher ups within the agency, and basically at this time saying, hey, we can jump ahead of this, and you could be in front of the forefront and make like you guys are doing something better. doing something to fix the problem.
I got it. Okay.
So it just not wasn't with that email. It was just for Lucky. No.
I got it. And you said this was a forward of an email. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. If I can show that to you, will that help refresh your recollection?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe it was a forwarded email.
Is this what we're talking about here?
Yeah, because I never put. Let's see here. I'll go back down here a little bit. Can you go back? Yeah, with the subject regarding the bullying. That's a forwarded email. There's a full email string. This is a partial string that you're showing. So it's a full email string, and I put that on the email string as well. Okay. So, I mean, even though Lucky was saying it, and some of the stuff I was probably, hate to say stealing, but I was stealing some of the stuff out of his thing and saying, hey, Milwaukee County, MCSO, you guys got an opportunity here. We can fix stuff here. This is an opportunity.
I got it. So let me just recapitulate here, and you can tell me if I understand things right. So the protests, and I'm sorry, it's that's stemming out of
the Black Lives Matter protest,
right? And the murder in Minnesota. And I just can't remember his name, but that I think was the lightning rod.
George Floyd.
Yes,
you can't remember that. That's
right. Right, but Black Lives Matter, I think, is how we understand that more generally, at least at that time, right? Okay. Yeah. So that was going on in society at that time, but also there were issues with race at the county that you saw personally, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then you were using this opportunity to bring up those issues that you saw, right?
Correct.
Okay, and the vehicle for that was Mr. Lucky raising race-based complaints in an email that you forwarded on to Mr. Novotny, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That was one of, yes, that was one of many things that I've seen, yes.
Okay, but and we talked about this before, there's other incidents of, this wasn't, I guess this is probably a great example, I'm sure you'll agree with me, of a situation where Mr. Lucky got out in front of the union. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I just want to be clear, because in that email that we saw, I recall that Mr. Novotny says that he's going to talk with administration about it and get back to you. Do you recall that? Yeah. Did he get back to you?
I can't recall. I went to because my chain of command as the union president was different than other supervisors. So I may have been a sergeant, but I can jump the chain of command and jump all over the place. So if he said he was going to get back with me, 9 times out of 10, I jumped over him and went straight to the chief deputy or the inspector.
Okay, and so that would have been Danita Ball and Mr. Hughes at that time?
Yes.
All right.
So, Counsel, before we go, I'm sorry, before we go too far, the second email you showed him, was that 56?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I think I just want to go back to what you were saying about jumping the chain of command. So it's fair to say that normally there's a strict chain of command at the sheriff's office, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that a normal deputy such as Mr. Lucky is not allowed to go from a sergeant all the way to the sheriff in one hour, right?
No.
Okay.
No. That's cause for a write up and a stern talking to and all that good stuff. So no, that will never happen.
Okay, but it is fair to say that there are policies that do allow that make exception and allow you to go straight to, for example, the head of HR or in fact the sheriff, right?
There were, I believe they changed policies now, but I'm not 100% sure because when I was on my transitioning out, I ain't gonna say I wasn't paying attention to policies, but I was sort of focusing on something else.
No, I got it. But just, and to focus on what we're talking about here, a race complaint, you don't have to go up the chain of command, do you?
No, you can go to HR. The best thing to do is start it at the chain of command. It keeps you yourself out of trouble. And you go to a sergeant, but if you feel that sergeant normally it's usually a sergeant, that's the first line supervisor. You go to the sergeant. If they feel that sergeant is the one that's discriminating against them or is not going to make it go anywhere, they can go to their partner, or if they feel that the partners are in cahoots, they can go to a lieutenant, then go to the captain, and so on and so forth. And then the captains normally could stop it at some time and keep it at there. And if it's real serious, then they can keep it moving. But 9 times out of 10 with a race complaint, they usually try to keep it moving.
Okay, but that's a lot of work to get up to the captain, right?
It can be a lot of work, but not really. If you feel convicted in your heart that something is going on, you just don't let it stop. This is a
Okay. But
paramilitary
it sounds
organization.
like if there's race discrimination going on and you don't feel convicted in your heart, then you probably won't make it past the sergeant, right?
Probably.
Okay, got it. Now, you said earlier, if you don't want to stay out of trouble, then you start with the sergeant, right?
Yeah.
What did that mean precisely, stay out of trouble?
If you don't want to get on their radar, if you jumping over them and not speaking with them first, you can get yourself into trouble or get yourself on the radar of that sergeant. And you don't want to get on the radar. And that's in any line of work or anything like that. You don't want to get on anybody's radar. You want to do your thing, go do your 8 and go home.
I got it.
Yeah.
So if you are in a meeting with the sergeant and you say that you're going to go to the captain, is that jumping the chain of command there?
That is jumping the chain of command.
Okay. And what if you say you're going to go to HR straight from the sergeant? And you tell the sergeant that. Is that jumping the chain of command?
I don't believe that's the chain of command, no, because they're
Okay.
outside entity. So you having a third party look into it or investigate it.
Okay. And but even though it's not jumping the chain of command, is telling a sergeant that you're going to HR, is that something that's likely to get you on that sergeant's radar?
When I was a sergeant, I'll be like, okay, I'll give you the information and here you go.
Sure. But you're the president of the union too, right?
What's that again?
You were also the president of the union, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so probably, can you give us an example of what a less exceptional sergeant would do?
A less exceptional sergeant? I ain't gonna say I was the best sergeant or anything like that, but another sergeant may say, no, you can't go to H. They won't tell them they can't go to HR. They say, go to HR, but you can't go to the captain.
Now I got it. Okay, I appreciate you explaining that to me.
Yeah.
Now, as union president or former union president, you knew that going to HR, there couldn't be an investigation if you went to HR, right?
Could you repeat that? It couldn't be?
Right. HR can't investigate any claims that you bring to HR, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did you learn that?
I mean, it's common sense that, you take a complaint to HR, HR has to look into it. HR is basically to protect the employee as well as the employer.
Oh, okay. Then let's be clear. So do you understand that HR takes a complaint from a sheriff's deputy and takes that complaint and gives it straight to internal affairs?
That's something that they just did. They started doing that with the sheriff, with Lucas. But prior to that, it was basically a lot of stuff was handled in-house. It was very few things were sent over to HR. Okay. Prior to Lucas, everything was handled within the sheriff's office. A lot of people didn't go to HR or outside of the sheriff's office. It stayed in-house.
But then people started going to HR or what?
Mr. Lucky started going to HR. He was probably the only person that I know of in my tenure working at the sheriff's office, somebody going to HR.
So did they change the rule because of Mr. Lucky?
I don't think so, no.
But they changed. Mr. Lucky is the only one you know of going to HR, and then he went to, and then they changed the rule. Is that right?
I believe so. But I don't know if it was because of Mr. Lucky or if it was something that was in the works. I don't know, but I know prior to the last administration, before under Clark, people just didn't go to. That's something that just didn't happen. You just didn't go to HR.
Is that because they were afraid of the consequences or something else?
I don't know. You just didn't do it.
Well, you were there at the time, right?
Yeah, we just didn't do it.
Why didn't you just do it?
Under Clark, we just didn't do it. It's just something you just didn't do.
Did the water change? What happened under Lucas? Mr. Lucky was the only one who came in. What happened?
Counsel,
How
I'm
do
just
you-
telling you. Hold on. Before I don't want to get argumentative or anything like that.
No, I appreciate
I'm just,
it.
And basically I said, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know how it changed, when it changed, or I don't know.
Right, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just pushing back on you because generally speaking, people have a reason for, not doing things or doing things, right?
Right, but I don't know why people didn't go to HR. I never went to HR, never filed an HR complaint in my history of working at the sheriff's office, or my history of working at the Milwaukee County. So it was just something that was done. He done it. It was something that was done at the House of Corrections. They did it a lot. But at the sheriff's department, the sheriff's office, it just didn't happen.
Okay. And do you know Captain Hannah?
Yes, I do know Captain Ham.
Okay. And do you know what race he is?
Yes, he's black.
Okay. And do you know if you filed any complaints with HR?
That I do not know.
Okay.
Because Hannah he's non-sworn, so I don't know. I was on the sworn side, so what they did on the non-sworn side, I don't know what they did on the non-sworn side.
No, I get it. I appreciate that distinction. So you said that Mr. Lucas changed the policy about what HR did with complaints, right?
I believe they changed it under Lucas, yes.
How do you know that?
When the policies come out, they change policies and stuff like that. You just look at it and say, oh, this must be a policy change. So they say these are the new policies.
So you saw a written policy that says HR complaints are going to be investigated by Internal Affairs from now on?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Do you know in what capacity you saw that?
I couldn't hear you. You're breaking up.
Sure. I asked what capacity, but what I really mean is, do you know in what format and what document this was?
I believe it was on Lexipol or Lexipol or KMS or LMS, one of those. They have all these different acronyms for different things. And I don't know. It's just one of the policies that changed.
Okay. And were you still working at the sheriff's office when Ms. Ball took over?
Yes. I just retired February 1st of 2023.
Oh, okay.